Morning, everybody. We got about an hour till the market opens, so let's talk about it and see what we can come up with for today, Tuesday morning. Wait a minute, today, Wednesday. Huh, I lost a day somewhere. Wednesday morning, and let's get it. First up is Bitcoin. Bitcoin, as you can see, is trying to push a little bit higher to retest this 97,508, but it's not happening very well for it. As you can see on our 2-minute chart, same thing. Push a little higher up to about 96, but it's struggling. Let's see, 15-minute chart, same thing. Closing this window, looks like it's got a little window here on the 15-minute chart, and it's coming back to retest that opening of that window. But it doesn't seem to want to get as high as this 96 area. So I think Bitcoin is going to continue to mess around in this area here, testing this resistance area before continuing to sell off. Maybe look for some support down around 91,000. If that doesn't hold, then look out below. Next up is oil, and oil got a little pop yesterday, right? Put in a little push here, found some support in this area here. Down in here at around 71, popped up. Now it's retesting these moving averages, so keep an eye on that. See what happens today when we open up. Pre-market looks like we're going to open up higher at around 72.59. So just above the close of this bar here, we may be opening up here. Alright, so be careful with that because we got this overhead resistance right in here at about $73. Alright, so we need to get above 73 and close, and then retest the next resistance area. Alright, so we got to get through all these moving averages to get up here. I'd say to be comfortable, you need to be at least around $75 or $76 to know we're in a safe zone to continue to retest these higher moves. Alright, next up is the E-mini S&P 500, and it's kind of running into the resistance area here still. Can't get above that 6,163. Alright, so we're right in here with our resistance. Retesting it, and can't seem to get above it. I'm gonna make it white because I think that's our new high. And it did at one point hit 6157.75 in the recent high, but didn't take out this high here, so that's still our most recent high. This seems to be our more resistance area in here, and it's an area of resistance, not just a resistance at 6149. Alright, area. Next up, I'm sorry, that's the Ethereum futures too. The S&P index futures Ethereum. Alright, where it's hitting that resistance there. Which, I don't know. I mean, Ethereum, what was that? About $4,000 or something like that last year. So, alright, next up. Actually, it went lower than that, I believe. Ethereum did. It was found pretty low. And pushed up. Next up is gold. And gold is still trying to get through this area up here, 2968, so it can hit 3,000. But it's running into some resistance still in this area here, so be careful with gold. You may have to pull back and gather its forces before trying to get through that area again. So be careful with gold. this doesn't push up through here in the next day or two, most likely we're going to come back and try it again. Alright, next up is natural gas. Natural gas is continuing to push higher. Thought for sure it was going to have trouble with this resistance area, but no, it did not. It pushed through it and came back, retested for some support. So looks like it wants to go back after this $4.36 area here. Wants to retest that before it does anything else. Alright, so that's natural gas trying to go higher. Next up is the NASDAQ. And the NASDAQ is running into some trouble. It is in the pre-market selling off. If you look at the 2-minute chart, we got some sell-off here in the pre-market. Right? And this was our high for the sell-off. So let's see what that looks like on the daily. Alright, so we had our doji here. Tried to push higher, couldn't do it, closed below our doji. Now it's starting to sell off this way into the morning. So we'll see how far it wants to go. The low of that bar was about 22,102, so we'll see if it wants to take that bar out and take this bar out. Takes these two bars out, then I think we're going to continue lower to retest this support area here at 21. Alright, next up is silver, and silver continues to push higher. Got through this $33 area, going up to retest this pointer, I guess. I think that's the next stop, to hit this pointer and see what we're going to do with that. Going to continue higher or come back, recheck for support before going higher. But silver is still bullish. We got the Y mini, the Dow, and the Dow put in the doji like the NASDAQ did and starting to sell off into the morning. Looking a lot like the NASDAQ is looking this morning. Alright, so keep an eye on that on the Dow. So far the Dow and the NASDAQ are both showing weakness. Let's see what the Russell's doing since we're talking about the big boys. RUT. And the Russell, where you at, Russell? There you are. And the Russell is trying to find some support in this area here at 2285. Right, but pre-market on the Russell is pushing higher. So the Russell got in a nice 3-bar push up here in the pre-market. That's actually looks like the end of day yesterday. We haven't gotten into the pre-market on the Russell yet. Yeah, that's the end of day yesterday. So we don't know. We're not getting anything out of the Russell this morning just yet. So we'll see what happens as the market opens on the Russell. Alright, but so far it was trying to push higher. Looks like it may have run into some troubles here. So most likely the Russell, when it opens up, is probably going to pull back like the rest of them. Next up is AMC. And AMC continues to push. But we'll see what happens with that. Next up is the APP, App 11 Corp. I don't even know why I have this in here. I think I might have seen somebody else talking about it and I put it on my chart. I saw the gap and I was like, okay, potential short coming up on that one. So that's one reason I think I have this one in here. But like I said, it gapped up. Some see it as a sign that we're going to continue to go higher, and I see it as a potential sell. So we'll have to see what happens, what it does. It could be like this guy here, right? And just ignore it all and just keep going like an Energizer bunny. And that's Palantir, by the way, if you don't know. I don't know why I don't have my Chingy arrow in there, but so, and Palantir in the pre-market looks like it's run into some trouble at that height. It bounced off it a couple times, 125, so I think it might have to go back and regroup and try it again on Palantir. So be careful this morning if you're trying to go long with Palantir. Buy the dip. Alright, and make sure the dip, finds the bottom and starts to head back up before you buy it. Don't buy it. Don't buy the dip that keeps falling. That's a falling knife. And trying to catch a falling knife. What do they say about that? It'll cut you. Alright, let's talk about our Chipotle. Chipotle finally gave us a direction yesterday, and it really showed us which way it wanted to go. So these two bars make one big bar, so that's a big sell bar right there. So Chipotle should continue to lower. And I got that right there. I might buy one more share down here. I might just, once it gets close to it, I might just cancel it and move it lower. But I like to buy at support areas. But I was doing the math on Chipotle, and it's still, if you say at $54 times 50, it's still a $2,600 stock. So, Chipotle might be still a little too expensive. So we have to see what happens with that as we head further into the year. Because, even if you're paying, oops, my bad. To us, in my mind, it's just a $50 stock. But in somebody else's mind, it used to be a $3,000 stock. And now it's not only a $3,000 stock, it's a $2,600 stock. And the lower it gets, the smaller the number that they used to have gets also. So let's see, $54 times 50 is $2,700. So you've already lost $300 on that split from Chipotle. Right? It's $300 loss. So even at 25 shares at 300. 7,000. That can't be right. Oh, somebody else needs to do the math. I can't. Me math knows is not so good. But anyhow, that 3,000 is getting smaller. And nobody wants to see it get smaller. They only want to see it get bigger. That's the way I see it. Anyhow, Chipotle continues to sell off. I expect it to come down here and maybe find some support at this 52.50 area. And if that doesn't hold, then we're coming down to about 47. If 47 doesn't hold, then I'm afraid we may be heading back down to, low 40s. Maybe even 30s or 20s. Because at $10, 10 times 50 is $500 a share. Right? And I keep saying 50 because that was the split. The split was 50 to 1. Alright. So we'll see how that works out with Chipotle. Next up is Rocket Lab. And And Rocket Lab, it's, continues to disappoint. Pushed up higher, tried to get above this 29, hit about 29.79, and then sold it all off and went down into the negative at 27.39, and then kind of did a little bouncy bounce, looked more like a dead cat bounce than anything. It just kind of milled around in here and then closed at 24.74. But pre-market looks like it wants to open up in the same area, which means it may continue to sell off into the morning and find some support in this area, give us a double bottom, and then come back up in here somewhere and go back to retest this $29 area. But so far that is what it's been doing, just kind of bouncing around in the same area on Rocket Lab. Hasn't really changed much of anything over the past 30 days. Alright, so if you draw our line, we could say this is our, that probably touches the most, so we'll call that our top. You know what, do this differently, duplicate this one, we'll call that our top, and looks like we already got our bottom, 27.20. This one here we'll get rid of. Alright, so this is our trading range here on Rocket Lab. Buy low, sell high until it's got enough to get through, but so far it just keeps getting rejected up here at around 30 bucks. Alright, so it looks like it wants to open up lower this morning, so be careful with Rocket Lab. On the daily, it's still looks like a sell, especially after that pointer it put in and came back down still to close into this area. So we'll see how we open up. We open up and finally get a close below this 27.20 area, and then we know we're going down here back to 21. But right now it keeps playing with our emotions and just finding some support in this area here, which is okay too, but just have to be careful if you're trying to buy and go long. Make sure you get your stop at the appropriate location for you, and don't forget to use your stops. Stops are important to survive in the game. Alright, let's talk about Tesla real quick. Tesla, ran into some resistance, started to sell off a little bit, put in a little bit of a doji here, so we have to see what happens when we open up on Tesla. Pre-market looks like it wants to continue to sell off, so of course if we open up lower, we're probably going to head lower on Tesla. But be careful with Tesla, because it'll reverse course on you real quick too. It's kind of like how Rocket Lab did yesterday, when it just reversed course on you. Even Qualcomm did the same thing yesterday. It was selling off, and the next thing I know, it was back up above where it was at. So you just gotta be careful with some of these guys. Some of these guys will throw a head fake on you and pretend like you're going one way, and head fake you and go the other way. Alright. Sweet Green continues to sell off, along with Canopy Growth continues to sell off. So these stocks just aren't doing very good right now. Getting hit pretty hard. Capital Southwest continues to push higher, trying to get back into these trade wins. Got some resistance at $23.86, so we'll see what happens with that. But so far it's been a nice little move, trying to get back up into, back up into positive area. But it's still currently in a down market with the moving averages heading downwards. So overhead resistance for Capital Southwest. Qualcomm, I mentioned, is trying to go back to retest this 176, and you can see it sell off and push up, sell off and push up, sell off, push up, sell off, push back up. So be careful, buy low on Qualcomm, sell high. You get that pullback and you figure out where it's going to be the bottom and then buy it down there. The other problem with that though is you don't want to catch falling ice, so be careful with that also. Try to be as strategic as possible and know how much you're willing to lose before making that trade. Because you got to be willing to put in that stop somewhere, and instead of wishing for it to turn around, just cut it loose and find something else that's more positive. Just my advice to the universe. Universe, use it as you will. Alright, I think that's going to be it for now. Gush, put in a hammer, a couple hammers, and it's looking positive. We know natural gas was looking positive also, and oil also is looking positive. So Gush, which is basically the oil and gas ETF, bull, should continue higher also, and that might be a nice little pullback and push higher. So maybe it's going to make another run like that, like it did here, which should put us shoot. Alright, pick this one since that was our stop. Oh, look at there. Put us right back up to our $36 area. We'll retest that previous high. That's Gush. Alright. So, alright, that's all I got for this morning. Remember, Rocket Lab is showing some weakness this morning. Probably going to get another push higher and then sell off on it. So be careful with that. And then Chipotle should continue to sell off and go lower. Maybe come back down and retest this 52.50 area. Alright. So that's all I got for you this morning. Hope you have a good day of trading. And be careful out there. These markets are crazy.